Oh, hello there, good people. Hi, I'm Jason with Agroforestry. It's the middle of August. Our tomatoes approaching 8 foot tall here, and of course ripening up. We have quite a few more of these 3/4 pound fruits to look forward to. Of course, they're not all this size. There's always a few a little bit smaller, like this one here. They're perfectly good for eating fresh right off the vine. Oh man, it's juicy. About a half pound. Of course, we've got our Cherokee Trail of Tears black beans here, which are now done. We pick these as dry beans. These are an excellent storage bean and a good soup bean. It also makes me think about winter and the kind of food that we can grow and store for the winter. I suppose it seems kind of odd to think about winter coming on a day like today. Temperatures in the mid-90s. No rain for a while, and probably no chance of any coming for a bit longer. But winter is definitely on its way. It's about time to start thinking about what I want to plant for a fall garden. Might have somewhere in the vicinity of 90 to 100 days or so of growing season left. Then again, within the first week of September, we could have freezing temperatures. It's just really hard to say some years. No telling what the weather's going to wind up doing. Telling what the sun's going to wind up doing. Could all be in for a nasty surprise. Wow, what a nice cluster of beans right there, huh? Incidentally, if you're growing whole beans to prepare as dry beans, you'll want to get them in whenever they're done growing and before the fall rains come. After the fall rains come, you wind up losing your beans to mildew and stuff like that. You don't want that happening. Of course, there are a number of really good storage crops that you can grow. The beans that you just saw me picking are a good example of that. This corn, which is now done behind me, is another great example. This, of course, is the big horse spotted corn. It's a native corn, dent corn. This corn is grown and dried and then used as hominy, lenta, made into tortillas. But as a dried corn, it stores just the same as the beans do. Keep it away from the critters, and it'll last a very good long while, no refrigeration required. Well, as it happens, I have a very keen interest in growing foods that can keep without a lot of preparation, preservation, refrigeration, freezing, things of that nature. Let's take a couple of examples. Of course, I already showed you this corn here. These are some peas that I grew last year. These are Alaska Early. They're better as a sweet pea than a dry pea. I found that these ones take an awful lot of cooking time to sop them up. You can put a few of them in your soups and stews, but they're not really great as a field pea. I grew these last year also. These are chickpeas, and although they're nice, I love the flavor. Problem with chickpeas is you only get 1 or 2 peas per pot, so processing them becomes a chore. You can always grow things like sunflowers. These are the black oil sunflowers, about 1 pound of seeds per flower. Better for the birds. A good storage squash would be something like this. This is a butternut squash. We grow these every year, and these can keep for 8, 9 months without refrigeration. That's 2 pounds there. The corn I already showed you. Our pecan trees produce pecans, of course. The hazelnut trees produce, you guessed it, hazelnuts. And these stay good for well over a year. And the only thing you really have to do is keep the critters out of it. You don't have to worry about canning or freezing or dehydrating. My tomatoes are good, and I could can them or dehydrate them. But doing that does require energy. And in the case of running a dehydrator or using the freezer, it requires electricity. That and these lids here, they don't last forever. They have to be replaced periodically, and that requires a functioning supply chain. So last year, I grew some black-eyed peas in the one of my Can I Plant That videos, and I took some of those black-eyed peas and gave them to my neighbor. He planted them this year, and this is some of what was produced from the crop that he grew this year. Most of the black-eyed pea vines that he planted grew fairly short vines, 2.5, 3 foot long, but a couple of them produced vines that were very long and looked like they might be a good match for this variety of corn. So I took some of the vining habit black-eyed peas, and we will be planting those next year. Let's open up the pods here and give you an idea of how much you can expect to get out of one pod. And keep in mind, I just dropped one. There we go. Keep in mind, whenever you're processing your food, the amount of energy you have to expend to process it and get it ready to eat should also be taken into consideration. So things like the chickpea, although it's a good sized pea, you only get 1 or 2 per pod. That's a lot of work shelling peas for your food. And the black-eyed peas, well, as you can see, out of 1, I'm counting the ones that keep on dropping on the ground. Let's replace those. So out of 1, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we get 15 peas out of 1 pod, as opposed to 1 or 2 out of 1 pod. And of course, there's still a place for plants like, say this one here, cayenne pepper, great spice. It's always nice to be able to add some heat to your food. Now these peppers are great fresh, but you can also very, very easily hang them and dry them. They don't require any special effort to keep preserved. There's some good ones right here. And of course, a lot of the food I grow fresh. I grow for eating fresh, like these bottle gourds. Of course, I can save them for seed, and just short of 3 pounds. I can save these for seed. I can save the gourds themselves and use them to use as storage vessels, kind of like one of these. Makes a nice place to put your beans and your corn, don't you think? Alright, so as you're planning your fall garden, or perhaps planning your garden for next year, I'd like for you to take a moment and think just a little bit about foods that you can grow and you can keep preserved without needing electricity or a functioning supply chain. Things that you can grow that you can rely on yourself. It's not a bad idea, right? Anyway, in any case, good people, that's all I've got for you today. As always, if you found this video informative or entertaining, well, you know what to do. I will catch you